Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, dysfunction. Let's talk. So, this season, I've been able to watch a whole lot more football. Typically, since I've been making the Baltimore Ravens content, I've just been paying close attention to the Baltimore Ravens, their ups, their downs, their wins, their losses, their successes, and their fails. But this season in particular, I've been able to watch Thursday night, Friday night football, the one game that was at the beginning of the season. I've been able to watch 1 o'clock Sunday games, 4 o'clock Sunday games, Sunday night football, Monday night football. And when I was watching Baltimore Ravens specifically, I just began to think, man, it's so hard for us to do stuff, right? When you look at the offense, it was either an explosive play to move the ball offensively, or we didn't move the ball. It was Lamar Jackson having to run around basically every pass play to make a pass, or the pass didn't seem to be effective. It was either Derrick Henry getting a splash play in the run or him getting stopped at or behind the line. And I was like, man, why does it seem so hard? I said that the Baltimore Ravens did not have an offensive system beyond Lamar Jackson running around and throwing the ball. And then when you consider the defense, we couldn't get pressure. It's third and long. We couldn't get stops defensively. We couldn't cover. And it was just like, man, everything we're doing is so hard. And it's easy to point to the head coach. It's easy to point to the offensive coordinator. It's easy to point to the defensive coordinator. And all of those dudes deserve replacement, right? But when I really began to look at the games and teams from Monday night, the Commanders versus the Bears and the Falcons versus the Buffalo Bills, one thing that all four teams had in common is that they had functional offensive lines. And that is the key to victory. When you can function offensively from tackle to tackle, it better sets up what you do offensively, of course, but it better manages a lackluster defense. And in game number one, for an example, we were explosive, put up 40 points. Well, what that game really came down to, beyond not being able to get a pass rush, beyond not being able to get a stop, it was that we didn't have an ability to move the ball methodically. You see, because being up double digits, being able to run the ball and get crisp passes off to move the chains down to down would have milked the clock away, and we would have came out of the game one with a victory. Game number three, which we lost to Detroit, wouldn't have gotten out of hand if we had a functional offensive line that was able to stay on schedule. And I think it's becoming more and more apparent that this offensive line that we have is the core problem of the Baltimore Ravens team. Yes, we've had bad coaching. Yes, they made bad decisions. Yes, we've had bad schematics. Yes, we've had bad strategy. But if the offensive line was better and could help keep the offense on schedule, you don't expose a bad defense as much. See, it doesn't matter if you have as much pass rush if they're not on the field. It doesn't matter if you lose your man in coverage. Why? Because they're not on the field. And even more importantly, if you had a better offensive line, your quarterback would still be healthy, and Derrick Henry wouldn't have lost at least two of those fumbles, getting smacked in the backfield and getting the ball knocked out from behind. And so I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to make a move. They need to make a move at the offensive line, specifically in the interior. I think that the part of the reason why you see Ronnie Stanley, besides his injuries, has taken a step back seemingly. The reason why it looks like Tyler Linderbaum has taken a step back seemingly. The reason why it looks like Roger Rosengarten has regressed is because our interior guard play has been so bad. Of the 120 plus players that are available to be rated, Voorhees and Falele rank below that 120 mark, with Falele having a better grade than Voorhees. You see, I think it has been the cheapness and the poor decision making of EDC and John Harbaugh to address this offensive line throughout the last 4 or 5 seasons. We've allowed more solid interior offensive linemen to leave with no legitimate replacement than we have been able to upgrade or at least stabilize the position. And so I think that we're going to have to put some draft capital in the way of trading draft capital away to get somebody who's stable. I'm not even talking about somebody who's elite. Elite will be great, but somebody who's stable, somebody who can live in that guard position consistently, hold his man, block, keep or help keep the quarterback upright. You see, if Lamar Jackson in this offense was able to average about 33, 34 points when he's on the field and healthy with this poor offensive line play, then what could this offense be if the offensive line was suitable, right? There's not an offensive line that has had less investment in the last 5 seasons than the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. You have Ronnie Stanley, who you just invested another 3 years, $60 million, $20 million per year in, when he's only had one healthy season in the last 5. That made no sense. You have Roger Rosengarten, who is a second-round pick from last season, but that's it. Everybody else who's come across this board, even when we had Ben Powers, who I believe was a 3rd or 4th round pick, we allowed him to walk away and become a Pro Bowler over in Denver. Kevin Zeitler, who was a stable force at the right guard position, you allowed him to walk away for basically $2 million extra dollars. So it's almost as if the Baltimore Ravens did not care about this offensive line, and more importantly, did not care about protecting the prize jewel on this team. Because as we see, when Lamar Jackson is not in the lineup, we don't win, and we don't come close to winning. And so I really believe that this is the core problem of this Baltimore Ravens team. Yes, we need pass rush help. Yes, we may need something in the interior defensive line. But first things first, if we don't protect 8 and allow this offense to be able to matriculate the ball down the field, it don't matter what you do at the pass rush, at the safety position, linebacker position, or the interior defensive line. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think that the offensive line is the core problem? And until next time, I'm your guy Boulanger, and I'm out.